What's going on, guys? Welcome back to WWE Network and Show, where I, Graham G.S. Matthews, break down all the original content I watch on the WWE Network and on Peacock. And today we're talking the August 19, 2023 edition of the SmackDown LowDown. Matt Camp, Megan Moran in the studio breaking down SmackDown from Friday. What was overall a great show. I talked about SmackDown here on the channel yesterday, breaking down the show in its entirety. The Edge 25th anniversary show is really what the show was centered around, but some of the other elements in the women's division and whatnot, the United States Championship picture, taking some positive steps forward. So I thought it was a really good show overall. They open up this episode by replaying the Grayson Waller effect with the LWO. Austin Theory coming out, Adam Pearce coming out, LA Knight coming out. It was a whole fucking party on the Grayson Waller effect to start SmackDown on Friday, which led immediately into Knight and Theory in a one-on-one United States Championship #1 contenders match, won by Theory following a distraction interference from The Miz on Knight, so Theory won. We hear from Theory backstage here on the show alongside Kayla Braxton. Theory says that he was already the #1 contender. He did not need that victory on Friday. He should have never lost the United States Championship in the first place, he says. He said that he was disrespected by Adam Pearce last week and on this show, and he calls himself, again, the greatest United States champion of all time. And a lot like Rey Mysterio, coming up in their rematch at some point, he will also become a 3-time United States champion, but this time he will not be stopped. Hopefully, that will not happen. I like Theory, but I'm beyond him being U.S. champion for a little while. It's time for something new. Matt Camp says that if he beats Rey Mysterio come that eventual one-on-one clash for the championship, it would be one of the biggest wins of his entire career. Not the biggest win. I would think that beating John Cena at WrestleMania for as little as that did for Theory would probably be his biggest win. But beating Rey Mysterio, which he actually already did coming out of WrestleMania earlier this year, would be a pretty impressive accolade nonetheless. Camp also talks about the beef between Knight and Miz, teases that it will culminate at some point in the not-too-distant future, probably, hopefully, in a match of Payback. We hear from Grayson Waller backstage, and he says that he's making legends relevant again, whether it's John Cena or Edge and now Rey Mysterio. He's going to face Rey Mysterio next week's show. And he says that Rey Mysterio can't let go, which is why he's still going after world championships and United States championships and whatnot. And he just can't pass the torch. And he's going to put an end to Rey Mysterio next week. So in the studio, they preview Rey Mysterio versus Waller on next week's SmackDown. They also recap Bianca Belair and Charlotte Flair in tag team action, beating the duo of Bayley and Io Sky, Damage Control. Camp says that Damage Control may have lost, but they sent the final message by proving that you have to go through them by beating up Bianca Belair backstage, kind of taking her out of commission for the foreseeable future. We hear from the Street Profits backstage, who actually poke fun at the New Day. So that was a bit random. I don't know if the New Day, maybe they did, I don't remember, mentioned the Profits first. That may have been on Raw Talk. I don't think it was on Raw, so I'm not really sure where that tension comes from. But it looks like we might be getting a New Day Profits feud at some point. I know New Day are facing Drew McIntyre and Riddle coming up on Raw this Monday, in what's basically a #1 contenders match for the tag team titles. I don't think it's officially branded as that because Owens and Zayn aren't around right now specifically Owens because he's out injured. Zayn's on the show still, obviously, but Owens is not. So they haven't said that. But anyway, we could be getting a Profits New Day match / feud at some point, which sounds great. But what the fuck's a brand split, I guess, then? Because New Day's on Raw, Profits are on SmackDown. Why even draft people to certain shows if you're just going to do this shit anyway? I guess we're already getting that with Miz and Knight, but it just kind of makes the thing even more of a joke than it already was. So at that point, or actually Bobby Lashley interrupts the Profits and says, let's go celebrate, and that was the end of their interview. To close out the show here, they recap Edge's win over Sheamus and then air the post-show footage, which I have not seen anywhere else. If it's been on Twitter, it probably came from SmackDown LowDown. They called it a SmackDown LowDown exclusive because I was looking for it on the WWE YouTube channel on Friday night and Saturday morning and didn't see anything. So I think they were saving it specifically for this show. Now, there was a clip that was circulating on Twitter late on Friday night, early on Saturday, with Edge talking about that he could be done, at least this being the last time wrestling in front of Toronto, which they did show here. But that wasn't the entire clip. They showed his full speech here, all 5 minutes of it or whatever. And he praised Sheamus. He praised his trainer, Ron Hutchinson, who was in the front row. Beth obviously thanked WWE because that was where he met her over 10 years ago. Also thanked Toronto for being an electric atmosphere for SmackDown on Friday and being his real home, first and foremost, above all else. And he said he doesn't really know what his future holds. He did say that at one point. He's mentioned that he's going to go home, talk it over with his wife, Beth, and whatnot, and really try to figure out what his next move will be. He didn't say it here in this promo, but it came out on Saturday morning that he said in another interview, I believe, that his contract expires in September, at the end of September, I believe. But this was his last contracted match. He may appear again. I don't think so. I mean, this kind of felt like a swan song to me. He may indeed be done. So WWE probably prepared for the possibility of Edge being finished, and this was kind of it for him if it was indeed it. If he resigns, then great. But there were also rumblings that he could go to AEW. Now, I have mixed feelings. I mean, I would love to see him end his career in WWE. I mean, that's kind of just what's fitting. But at the same time, you might want to go to AEW, mix it up with a few fresh opponents, team with Christian one more time. I mean, the Hardys match isn't exactly fresh, but they can run it back one more time. That is certainly a possibility. At the same time, though, he even mentioned here that it's taking more and more of a process to get ready for his in-ring matches. So I'm not sure how much that would change if you went to AEW. The guy's 50 now, or is going to be 50, I think, this year. I mean, Sting's fucking like 63. Jericho's already past 50. So it's not unheard of for AEW to hire someone in their 50s. I'm not saying that. But at the same time, I'm thinking, okay, if he thinks his in-ring performance is going to kind of... I mean, it was a great match with Sheamus and Friday, but if he doesn't think he can still deliver at that same level, then he probably shouldn't go. He should probably just end it here. But I guess we'll find out soon when he makes his decision. But that was how they closed out the show. Matt Camp has some great words for Edge to close out the episode, recapping his illustrious, decorated career and also praising him as a human, talking his own interactions with Edge and the interactions Edge had with the rest of the roster. So I thought that was quite cool to mention that as well. And they also plug Edge for the bump coming up on Wednesday. They don't mention that he's going to be there live in studio for... I don't watch the show anyway, but they don't say he's going to be in the studio live for the show, but he will be there in like a pre-taped interview setting, in an interview he did backstage at SmackDown with Kayla Braxton. They're airing it on the bump this Wednesday, which is cool. Hopefully he gives more insight as far as what's next for him going forward. All that being said, a very good addition to SmackDown LowDown this week. Love that they included the post-show footage as an exclusive to the show. It's not even like they put it on YouTube prior to this point. They didn't. The entire speech and not just a clip of it. They show the entire thing, which I thought was awesome. So watch for that. The Grayson Waller interview, the Theory interview. Who else did we hear from on this episode? And the Prophets as well. All made this an eventful episode by SmackDown LowDown standards. And good stuff. Check out the Edge stuff when you get a chance. The Edge speech specifically. It was very well done and a great heartfelt, goodbye. It kind of seemed like, in a way, if he does indeed not opt to return to the ring and not opt to return to WWE and re-sign to the company. So I guess we'll find out soon. Thank you guys for checking out my review. I appreciate it. Be sure to like the video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more daily content. All my SmackDown LowDown reviews available down below in the description box in that playlist, so check them out. Check them out when you get a chance. Have an awesome one, guys. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'm Graham G. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.